What's going on, guys? We're on Turkey here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a gameplay video for you guys between my Pathfinder Giants deck and Preston's Pig Out deck. I want to really talk about Pathfinder Giants. I've been playing this one a lot in person and online, having a lot of fun and success with it. It's half of a Giants deck, half of a land destruction Ponza deck. I actually think Pathfinder Ponza is in a pretty good spot in the format right now. Giants are just kind of a bit of fun and flavor, but I do want to talk about it because it's kind of tricky and weird. There's only two cards that really care about Giants in this deck, Plunderboar and Rebex, and they're both uniques. So your odds of seeing anything that cares about Giants is a little low, and like most games, some games you probably won't see either of these guys, and you're kind of lucky to see one. So what that means is you can't be playing bad Giants in the hopes of making them good. Every Giant has to be playable on its own, and that's where you see Slumbering Giantess, Siege Giant, Atlas Wanderers. You know, these guys are pretty good on their own, truthfully. Rita and Raytanis Titan as a one of the, I don't know, that one I'm iffy on, and the Fomorians, which I'll get to because these guys aren't really that good on their own, but we'll get to them. And then we've kind of got just like an early game package, you know, the standard like Fury Road, like Wake the Giantess up. We got the Root Spiders, the Kobolds, the Dragonettes, 2 Imps, and 1 Pilgrim for a little bit of card draw. I am noticeably missing Morgana Le Fay. She's 3 fire, and I have like a 3 fire spell here, and also Year of the Blaze is 4. But the more you start like packing your deck with these high attunement spells, the more likely you are to have a hand full of things that like you can't cast. And Morgana is really good. Probably should cut like something, maybe even the Pilgrim, like for Morgana. But I just don't know. Attunement can be tricky with Pathfinder because you're not guaranteed anything. And the other thing is Morgana's spells. Normally, I don't really care if she dies and they go to the cemetery. But like Morgana, a lot of our deck is like pretty big, right? Like 7 drops, 6 drops. Very late in the game is when you'll be able to play Morgana and cast something from her spells, and I really just don't want to see like a lot of these like big powerful units going to the cemetery from Morgana. We are playing 2 rescues. I like rescue when you have uniques that you care about because you're able to play more uniques. You're able to like replay those uniques after you lose them. 1 major explosion for a bit of reach, but also this is kind of like my Poison Nova for the deck. It's 7 mana, yeah, but like as Pathfinder, like 7 mana is like 5 mana for like most other avatars as Pathfinder. And that's why I'm playing the Fomorians, because yeah, they're 7 mana, but like 6 power, Burrowing Submerge, like they have a bit of protection, and like, you know, as Pathfinder, like there's an asterisk on all those mana costs. Gigantism for a bit of flavor, and you can combo with the Kobolds. 1 Infiltrate is kind of the nice number because there is a lot of anti-stealth tech, but Infiltrate is just really good. 2 Earthquakes help you reposition. 3 Common Sense to grab. You can honestly, a lot of times I'll just grab an Ablaze if I'm really trying to just like Ponza you, because it's very strong, like just keeping your opponent off of mana. Especially against sorcerer players, like hitting their sights is like so brutal. That's why I think like Ponza is good, honestly. It's a good matchup into sorcerer, and if you have a good matchup in a sorcerer, like you're doing all right for yourself. Sights is just like, you know, Earth Fire. I don't play Mirror Realm, which is a little crazy, but I just a turn 1 Mirror Realm, I just don't want to deal with it. So it's not here. There's also no smokestacks because I am playing... I might not have put it here, but I am playing Valley of Delight, on paper at least. And for that reason, there is no smokestacks because I don't want to go smokestacks into Valley and then not get my Genesis of the Valley. Peasant Revolt for some additional site destruction maybe. And yeah. It's fun. Like, there's not that many giants, but they're all good on their own. Siege Giant is very valuable in repositioning Pathfinder. We don't have a lot of ways of doing that. We got the Siege Giant. Atlas Wanderers can do it by moving the sites. and Earthquake, but you really don't want Earthquake to just for that, right? So pretty just good stuff. Fun deck, very strong, like big dudes coming down and beating people up. Preston's deck, Pig Out. It's like a Sylvan Splendor combo deck, but it's not all in on that. There's way less one drops than you would see from this deck normally. But he's got this 2 Sylvan Splendors, Grain Sparrow, Pufferfish. What he's doing is he's playing Squeakers, and he's got the pigs and the boars. And he's got Swamp Buffalo, Wild Boars. These guys are pigs. And he's even got the Ribble Boggarts, which they're fairies, but like, look at that, dude. That looks like a pig to me. So, and you know, it's a fairy because it still works with the Splendor. It's kind of like do your 1-drop thing. You've got a Ruler of Thule for a big turn play. You've also got Horn for a big turn play. Manuscript works nice. If you have the Horn, you can start drawing crazy. Manuscript also just works with Plague of Frogs. He's also running the Polymorphs. We got a bit of a frog package. Assorted Animals can like refill your hand with 1-drops very easily. Of course, the whole idea here is you get a Hamlet, Sylvan Splendor, 1-drop, 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 draw, 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 like just run through the deck. You've got Salmons for more draw. Surveying, kind of like, you know, showing that this is a bit more of a mid-range deck than the normal like combo deck is. So you got Surveying here. He's really good. 2 rescues. It's honestly probably should go down to 1 because the only rescue target I think here is like Ruler of Thule. But I do, you know, I like rescue when you have a key unique that you care about. Riptide, because he is playing the drums. He's got that kind of like a stall package with the like Druid drums. So you can Riptide something to like pull it in and kill it, draw a card. Common Sense is key because it shuffles the deck. So if a boar or a pig goes to the bottom, I mean, if you're killing Squeakers, pigs won't go to the bottom. They'll get summoned. But if you see a boar and it goes to the bottom, or even something key like Ruler of Thule and Sylvan Splendor, you really want to be able to Common Sense. Assorted Animals as well. Anything that shuffles, being able to shuffle is very important. And these are the decks. This was a bit of a longer deck tech opening, but these are like 2 like really fun decks that we have a lot of fun playing. I think they're both pretty decent. Pig Out, I know there is there's probably more competitive versions of both of these, but these are just the versions that we find the most fun. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the game. If you like it, if you like what we're doing here, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment if there's something that you want to see next. I really take you guys' feedback into account, and I hope you guys have a great day. So we're gonna get into the game here. I'm on the left, Preston's on the right. We just did our dice rolls. Preston's going first and getting into the mulligans. So of course, as Pathfinder, only get to draw 3 spells, no sights. And I'm pretty positive, if I recall correctly, I'm full keeping. You can see a Root Spider in my hand there. I think I have a Giantess too, and I really like to, when I have a way to wake her up and her, it's great to keep them both. You don't really want to see like your big stuff in your opening hand. You want to see those like 3 drops, the early guys, to just get the deck going. Looks like I do mulligan 1, so I'm probably just keeping like Root Spider and Giantess. Preston, I think mulligan 2 spells in 1 sight. We see a Salmon in his hand, and I think that was a Grain Sparrow as well. And now it's off to him. So he's going to start opening us up with a Hamlet. So he gets to cast his Ordinaries for 1 less. Of course, that is key in the Sylvan Splendor combo. Putting it in the back isn't awesome, but if he's maybe going to set up a Ruler of Thule later on, he is still like able to attack. And you can see he was thinking about Squeakers as well, but Hamlet does not provide attunement, so he actually isn't really able to cast anything. And then I just, you know, Pathfinder things. We got a Dwarven Forge off the top, so off to the races with fire. And it goes back to Preston, who drew a spell for turn. I can see Ribble Boggart in his hand. Alright, so he's tapping, thinking about what site he wants to play. Looks like he goes for a Copse, so he gets that Earth. If he wants to play Squeakers, now he can. And he will. And he'll also advance Tawny. So Squeakers, they have that death right, and when it triggers, you reveal your top 5 cards. Any Pigs of the Sounder, they go in its place. So it can be kind of a bit of a luck angle, but it can be a pretty big snowball tool. I get a village, and I don't have a 2-mana play, so I opt to make the Foot Soldier. I like now that I have one of each attunement. I decide to play forward. It gives him an opportunity to attack me right away, but going forward allows you to get to 6 mana without needing a movement spell. So, and since we don't have a ton of movement spells in this Pathfinder deck, just getting to 6 faster is more preferred for me. Preston's play, he goes for a Troll Bridge. He too is getting his attunements, 1 of each. He has 3 mana. He's looking at that Ribble Boggart. He's going to play it on the Troll Bridge. And then he has actions with his 2 units if he wants it. So he decides to attack my Foot Soldier with the Squeakers. So they're just going to trade. I have no say in this. And then we're going to resolve the Squeakers. So we see a kitty, we see the old boar, the buffalo, rescue, and grain sparrow. So he whiffs there, and tragically he sees a boar that is now going to the bottom of his spell book. So that's like 1 boar out of that we don't have to worry about, essentially. And then he gets a hit with Tawny. Aside for that, we didn't really see any too big heavy hitters. He didn't put a Sylvan Splendor in the bottom. Ruler of Thule is still there. Drums of Doom. So honestly, he got a lot of fluff out of the way, and he can feel a little good about that, even though he didn't get to pig out. He attacked with Tawny. I took 1. I was thinking about which way to go after revealing this village. I decided to go this way because I'm worried about that Ribble Boggart. He can roll and get airborne next turn, and then he can attack my village, but that's the only way he'll be able to attack me. Whereas if I go down the other way, I am allowing him to hit me with the Boggart, and especially if he gets +3 power, that would hurt a lot. And then I get to Root Spider Tawny, and that's a really good way to remove Tawny because it's not going to come back when Druid plays a site, right? It's not dead. He does still control Tawny. He, at start of turn, is rolling for the Boggart, and he got +3 power. So it was good of me to go the way I did because I just saved 6 damage. And, I could always preemptively Root Spider to prevent that attack, but then I'm not locking down Tawny, and Tawny just provides a ton of value over the course of a game, and so I am eager to stop that. Preston gets a Briar Patch. He's got 2 Earth. It's a bit of a slightly defensive site. You can't really move into it with 1 power guys, and it oftentimes allows to take favorable trades if things are attacking into it. He plays a Swamp Buffalo on the Hamlet, so of course that doesn't cost him anything, and then he moves the Boggart, and then he'll pass. So I would have liked to have seen him play the Buffalo more forward, just because if he were doing something else with his mana and needed that discount, it would make sense. But since he really didn't spend any other mana, he should have just paid for the Buffalo and played it more forward, where it could do something more immediately. So I'll play the Giantess on top of Root Spider. This disables her on entry before the Genesis can resolve. And I will actually keep the Root Spider there for the turn because the Giantess is summoning sick anyways. But keeping him there means that Tawny is still stuck in place for at least 1 more turn. To get this Giantess moving, we will need to move the Spider and ultimately free up Tawny. Preston's drawn for turn. We see that Pigs of the Sounder. And he's got a salmon and a grain sparrow. I think one more card, but I can't really see it. Unfortunately, he does not have the 2 water to play this salmon. He can play the pigs. I'm not sure what the Ribble Boggart got. Oh, yeah, we missed that, so we're going to do it now. And the Ribble got lethal. So, honestly, it's never really, unless he got airborne, that's the only way it would matter this turn, because he can't attack into my Root Spider. He can move to, like, reposition an attack, but, yeah, he's not really doing anything, unless he got airborne and would be able to attack my village. So, Preston it looks like he's eyeing the pigs. And is not a very great place to put them because, I mean, I'm moving my Root Spider next turn, and he just, like, gave me, like, a great way to lock down 2 of his units. And especially locking down the pigs. If they die while disabled, they don't resolve their death right. So, it's pretty good there. He'll tap for a sight. I imagine he wants a water sight, so that he can play the salmon. And we draw a spell for turn, as Pathfinder does. We get a Rift Valley, and we could do some funky stuff, because you can Rift Valley with Pathfinder's ability. But I don't really like doing that. I'm pretty set in my ways of, like, just getting to 6 sites and, like, doing this normal path of just, like, circling in on the corner. So that's what we do. 5 mana, and we have 3 earth and 2 fire. Pretty good, like, very well rounded. We're not like 5 earth or like 4 and 1, you know. We want to move this Root Spider. I think it's pretty obvious that we are going under the Boggart and the pigs. Then it's like Giantess doesn't get to attack, right? That is like the one concession there. But I think it's so worth it. Like, yeah, so we go pigs, or we go Root Spider under there. Still 5 mana, got a Giantess up. We play Atlas Wanderers, so this, yeah, now we get to attack. Because we will trigger the Genesis of the Atlas Wanderers. We'll move these guys up. And now the Giantess is able to attack the Briar Patch or the Troll Bridge, and there's no blocks available. Tawny, of course, can't defend. And so Preston is forced to take 5. And I would imagine that this will be the end of my turn. Yes, so it goes, Preston untaps. He goes back up to full mana. He's going to draw a spell for turn. He sees a berry. That is pretty good, given the board state. He's also got that Grain Sparrow. Great for stabilizing, healing 2, being able to block. Ultimately, like, you play a Sparrow, you block a 5-power unit. It's as if you healed 7. Grain Sparrow is essentially a divine healing in that circumstance. All right, he's going to hit for 1 with Tawny. Before any actions, he's moving Tawny. And then he's going to play a Babbling Brook. So the Babbling Brook disables minions atop nearby sites. And he immediately decides not to play it there, but he's going to play it right there, because now he's also disabling my Atlas Wanderers. And he's not disabling Tawny. He is disabling the Swamp Buffalo, but that, that's whatever. Like, what's that Buffalo doing anyways, right? So yeah, he's essentially saving 10 damage next turn, and that's pretty huge. He will then bury the Giantess. And that leaves him with 2 mana, and we know what those cards are. It's Grain Sparrow and Salmon, so there's not a ton that he can really do, he can play the Sparrow. And he's looking to play it on the Troll Bridge. Now, of course, it's kind of because like the Babbling Brook is disabling things that the Sparrow couldn't enter on those, and he heals too. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, we're going to just run it back. We're going to pretend that he plays the Sparrow first so that he can play it in a more optimal location and also heal. And so, like, he's playing the Sparrow, it's Genesis resolves, and then he plays Babbling Brook and disables everything. The Sparrow on his site currently is able to defend all of his sites except for the forward one, where he does have 2 units on, but they're just disabled by Root Spider. We pull a pillar. So there are 2 minions in the cemeteries. There's my Giantess and his Squeakers. So that perfectly just brings me up to 20 again. And importantly, banishing Squeakers matters because the Grand Old Boar only has charge if there are dead Squeakers. So pretty nice to hit the pillar there. We untap, which we should have done at start of turn. But yeah, the Root Spider is untapped. I have 6 mana. 4 earth. I'm completely covered on earth. Technically, there's a couple things that I need more fire for. Peasant Revolt, and Year of the Blaze. But aside from those 2, pretty much my entire spellbook is castable. And it looks like I'm thinking about what to do. The issue is that the Babbling Brook, like that persistent effect of disabling things, I really don't want to play things where they'll be disabled. So what I end up doing is I have a Kobold and I just play it away from the brook, and I'm able to kill Tawny, and that doesn't feel that great because he just gets Tawny back, right, whenever he plays a spell. But you know, I advance my board state a little. Kobolds are scary. The Babbling Brook effect is now gone, so like I will have this Wanderers ready next turn. But you know, he does have like 2 chump blockers, so it takes some time. It looks like he drew a spell. We see a polymorph, so there goes my Atlas Wanderers. He's not gonna survive the turn, but I will get a frog. Yeah, so Preston goes polymorph. He banishes my Wanderers, transforms it into a frog. Of course, the transforming a minion banishes the original copy, because how it's worded in the rulebook is you completely remove the original game piece. So functionally, it's a banish. We're gonna see a bit of a misplay here that I noticed in post-production, and that is the salmon is being played under a hamlet, and that's not a water site. He would have to play that salmon under the brook and then move his units. But what can we do now? We're still gonna run the game how it is. Neither of us caught this at the time. He taps Druid, and he gets the salmon first try. I believe he rolled a 15. So the salmon is gonna banish, and he's gonna get to draw 3 and essentially refill his hand. He then is able to do whatever he wants with this Buffalo and Sparrow. He kind of wishes afterwards that he had just tapped one of them, because now, he wanted them up to be blockers. You don't really expect to get the fish first try, but he could have been able to tap his avatar for a sight. But that's just the risk-reward of the salmon. And then he's able to attack my village, right, with Grain Sparrow. And I do have a frog who can block, so thank you, Froggy. I save 1, and... no, I don't block, right, because I would choose to block the Buffalo. He attacks my frog, and there's nothing I can do about it. And then he attacks for 2 with the Swamp Buffalo. So back to me, I untap. So now I'm in a position where I'm not able to play a site this turn. I would have to move unless I have one of my movement abilities. So the second Atlas Wanderers can do it. Siege Giant can do it. Earthquake can do it. Earthquake doesn't really look too good right now. We'd be kind of killing our things, but we do have Siege Giant, and so that's awesome. We're gonna get thrown diagonally and make sure that he's not able to cut us off anyway, advancing into our territory. And we play a site. We get a Varmint Warrens. Now, I'm pretty positive, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but Varmint Warrens is like symmetrical, and that his beasts also wouldn't be able to be targeted. I'm not sure because it says targeted by enemies, and I'm like, is it looking at like the site's enemies or the enemies of the beasts? But yeah, in this game, I'm like, yeah, you know, you might be pretty happy about the Varmint Warrens because you can maybe shelter your beasts there. We attack for 2 with the kobolds, and then we punch the buffalo. So Preston untaps. We're at 7 mana. Preston is at 5. He has an Atlantean Fate. He drew some gas, actually, from that salmon. We see the Splendor. It looks like a grain sparrow, and he's got Atlantean Fate. So pretty good stuff there. I'm also guessing he has not drawn for turn yet, because he should have, after drawing for turn, he should have a 4th card. And it looks like he taps for a site. We will correct this card draw thing. And then Jeremy moves to untap his sparrow. Preston, yeah, there we go. So Preston draws the Squeakers. And he remains tapped for a site. So he could kind of go off a bit with the Splendor. He could go like Splendor, Grain Sparrow, Squeakers, draw 2, still have a mana left. But he decides to just Atlantean Fate. It's like pretty alright because he kills my Root Spider and those guys get submerged. And my kobolds, I don't like, it's not that great. Like, he does kill my spider, but like he loses 2 units, but it's not like he had those units to begin with anyways. But what really ruins it is he loses his earth. Both of those sites get, my sites are ordinaries. Those are villages affected by the fate, but those non-ordinaries are his. So he actually goes down on his earth and now just only has water. He does preserve his Grain Sparrow because its site doesn't get flooded. And then he goes Grain Sparrow. Now, it's a bit of a, rewind, and he plays this before the fate while he still has Earth. And now, seeing his hand now, I probably would have, waited to play that Sparrow until he had the Splendor down, because you can still cast it for free, but you get to draw a card. It seems a bit rushed. Alright, so I untap. It's going to go to... I draw a spell. Sometimes I have to think, even though I'm playing Pathfinder, and it's like... I'm always going to draw a spell. Like, I just forget that I'm playing Pathfinder. We got a Holy Ground, so that's nice. This is the second time where I've just gotten perfectly topped off to 20. 18 to 20 through the pillar, 17 to 20 now. We do move up the Siege Giant. That is like the downside to playing him, how... he's very useful for that throw ability in this deck, and oftentimes where we are positioned, we have to play him where, he's not towards the action at all. But it's fine. He's getting there. He's moving up. He'll be able to attack next turn if we want him to. And because I control that village, so I will Violimp his Grain Sparrow, and then I will play Rebex, who is able to attack his Cops, and the other Grain Sparrow is tapped, so it can't defend. Rebex gives allied giants charge, that includes himself, so Rebex is able to attack right away for 4. Grain Sparrow untaps, Druid untaps. He has 5 mana. He has a sight in hand. I'm not sure what he drew, but hopefully he has like an Earth sight. Alright, he got Annual Fair. So he is able to get Earth from he's able to get all the Earth he needs from Annual Fair, so long as he pays the mana into it. We know that like he has Splendor, he has at least 2 1-drops. Oh, is that drums? I think he has... No, it can't be drums, can it? No, I think he has Splendor, Squeakers, and drums. And then he pays 1 into the fair so that he gets the Earth. So leaving him with 1 mana, but of course he has that Hamlet to play the 1-drops for free. Good positioning on the Splendor there, able to less sites that the sites he positions it to are very well defended currently with the Grain Sparrow and the Squeakers. Whereas if he played it where he was initially thinking, including the Briar Patch and the Brook, like my Siege Giant is hitting there next turn. So good positioning there. Keeps the Grain Sparrow up to block. Notably, he can't attack the village now because that's my site, but Splendor like doesn't care whose site it is, so it would dispel itself if he attacked that village. I'm actually not sure if that comes up at all. Like, it's definitely something that we were not tracking during this game. So maybe we see another potential misplay with that. I'm not 100% sure. Tap and Pathfinder. We get a Shifting Sands, but there are no deserts to activate. Sometimes with Pathfinder, you're just playing sites because they give attunement and not because you actually care about their abilities. We have 9 mana. That is a lot. We have a pretty good board with Rebex, Siege Giant, and the Imp. And yeah, we're about to see that come into play because we're going to play the Fomorians here. 6 power, Burrowing Submerge, and they have charge from Rebex. So that is a very powerful ability. And yeah, we do actually like have some misplays here because I'm kind of thinking that that village is his site. Just because it's on his side. So like I'm like, okay, I attack your village trying to break your Splendor, and then he blocks with the Grain Sparrow. And then I'm like, all right, I attack your Squeakers with Imp, and now the only way that he can defend my Fomorian's attack is if he hits pigs. We are resolving the Deathrite, and it's first look, he sees the pigs. So that's great. Pigs go to his to the site the Squeakers were on. Pigs, Kitty, Wild Boars, Plague of Frogs, and Grand Old Boar. Sucks. Now both Grand Old Boars are on the bottom of the deck. I think there's one more Pigs somewhere. So he's maybe looking for common sense to shuffle. And then here's where I notice the error. I'm like, wait a minute. That village isn't yours. I can't attack it. And it's not like I can attack the Grain Sparrow because it's airborne. So now as we sort of have to run things back, I'm like, okay, I'm going to attack this site, the Cops. And well, it changes the dynamic a lot because now it's like attacking this Cops doesn't mean that your Sylvan Splendor breaks. So whether or not you want to block is like really up to you. He decides like he does want to block. It kind of just simplifies the things, and like, yeah, it's like what Grain Sparrow is going to do. So then I attack with the Fomorian for 6. I attack with the Siege Giant for another 4. 10 total. But ultimately then we do run it back and we say, well, wait a minute. Since your Splendor is not in danger, would you like to block the most and block the Fomorian for 6 instead of Rebex for 4? And he's like, you know what, that does make sense. We can replay that. So we're going to nudge him back up to 5. now that like we have a better understanding of what the attack targets actually were. That was a pretty messy turn, made messy by strange site placement from the Atlas Wanderers play much long ago. His Splendor is still up, very notably, but he is taking damage now. He's at 5. And he does have pigs. So he flips, and he goes into the flipped Druid, the damage on sight. I'm pretty sure he does have that drums. So, and he has Bruin, who can protect him from damage. So we're going to see what happens here. I would imagine he's going to play drums since he's flipping. Yeah, so there those are. And of course, now the damage from the Druid ability is lethal while it's nearby the drums. And he has 1 mana left. I think we saw squeakers in his hand. He can pay 1 into Annual Fair. It looks like that's what he's doing. And he can play squeakers on the Hamlet, and that's affected by the Splendor, so he gets to draw. His pigs, he could move them if he wants to. Not sure that he does, but... And there's Tawny over there. Looks like he decides just to move Tawny. Getting it closer to drums, where, you know, Tawny's 1 damage is lethal and can maybe look to attack a unit. This is so I have a pretty easy time putting him to door this turn. I can just attack with my Fomorians. They're undefended. The issue is this deck is actually like really not great at putting down direct damage. Like it's very like built around the units, like swinging with big bodies. I have the 1 major explosion that could kill Preston from a distance, but while Bruin is up, Bruin will absorb that damage. So I get to door Preston pretty easily. Now what? I can't, if I move my units up, they die to the Druid drums. Root Spider has burrowing, so I can burrow him under that village. He takes 1 damage, but it's not lethal because the drums are on the surface, and so the spider is not nearby it. The Fomorian also has burrowing, and I guess this is a way to get towards Preston is with burrowing. But these are the only minions that have burrowing, is my 3 spiders and my 2 Fomorians. So we're going to have to see what we can do. And of course, I probably should have just attacked with my other 2 giants to door him and burrow my Fomorian to get him closer to Preston faster. But, you know, hindsight, yeah, we just gotta find a way. You know, there's Dispel as well, and we have 3 Common Sense, so, you know, we can destroy the drums that way and get to Preston. But right now, like, we kind of are playing a waiting game, and he's gonna get to just do what his deck does, which is kind of swarm the board with little guys and pig out. So he pays 1 into the Annual Fair, and then he plays Common Sense. Importantly, just to shuffle, right? He has 2 his 2 Grand Old Boars in the bottom 10, so he is going to get to shuffle those guys. I don't even think he knows what he's Common Sensing for. You can kind of see him very slowly looking through his deck right now. He was eyeing a Riptide. That'd be pretty cool to just like pull something into the drums Druid effect, but he doesn't really have... He can pull the Siege Giant right now. Everything else is kind of away from water sites. So he's got a... It looks like he's got a... No, that's his hand. That is right there. Yeah, he's probably thinking what to draw with the Common Sense. Grain Sparrow doesn't matter, right? He's on door. Barry kills something, I guess. He takes a Swamp Buffalo. That seems weird, I guess, right? But you gotta think, it's a 0 mana draw card. It's a unit that will, like, deal lethal damage with the drums. I probably just would have liked to see squeakers instead of the buffalo, because it's another look at... Well, how many pigs are left? After shuffling, I believe... there's only one pig left in the deck, right? Because one of them got Atlantean faded under the root spider, and one is on the board. So squeakers has a pretty low chance of hitting. So maybe the swamp buffalo is better. The pigs really is what matters right now, because there are 2 grand old boars still in the deck. And there are dead squeakers. Actually, there might not be dead squeakers. But he has a squeakers that he could kill. Most definitely. So yeah, that was the common sense plus the annual fare. So he still has 3 mana. He's going to play Swamp Buffalo, and he's playing it there. It's able to, like, attack, I suppose. It's on a water site too, so Root Spider can't mess it up. And the only thing is he has to pay for it with the Hamlet, but he still gets to draw a card because it is under the Sylvan Splendor. He is fairly well set up for a Ruler of Thule, where he can, with the pigs, with the squeakers, with Bruin, himself even. He goes to attack the Siege Giant with the Pigs of the Sounder. So he goes rescue. He hits it. He hits the Grand Old Boar, the Ribble Boggart, Narcotic Manuscript, and the Plague of Frogs. So he manages to... He pigs out very successfully. And it's pretty great, too, because those pigs came from a Squeakers. So that Squeaker got to go the full distance. Squeaker into pig into Grand Old Boar. We do, like, run back just a tiny bit this turn, because what we miss initially is that attack was lethal because of they're nearby the drums. So that Siege Giant, yeah, that Siege Giant was always a trade at first. At first, he was just going to attack it a second time with the boar, but now that Siege Giant is dead. That boar should not be tapped. He's not... Oh, right, because we haven't actually run it back. Now we run it back. Siege Giant is up. I'm sorry, boar is up. Siege Giant is dead. And yeah, he's able to attack my village that's not under the Root Spider. I do have a blocker with Rebex, but it wouldn't be a trade. Like, I would be giving up Rebex for this boar. So Preston has to decide. I mean, honestly, like, the thing is that then the Fomorian is able to attack the boar. So, like, how do you feel about it? I don't really mind losing Rebex, because at this point, it's not about the units for me. I don't need to give things charge. I have him on door, and I can't get in range of him with the drums. So it's really just about distance, like range, either with Major Explosion or Dispel, or, I mean, really that. I guess burying the drums would be pretty good too. Or with burrowed units is the other thing. Preston is moving. So Preston moves the Squeakers over the Root Spider, and he disables them. But then he plays another Squeakers, right? And so he's like, you can't disable both of them. He's like, you can only disable one. So he gives up one to play another. He draws off the Splendor, and it costs him 0. He's got Tawny. So attacking my, like, Fomorian or something. It's out of the lethal range. That is a shame. He does decide to attack my village, and I've got to decide whether I want to block with Rebex. Now, I've told you my thoughts already, that, like, yeah, I'm willing to block because the units don't matter. I do take a minute to think about it here because, you know, in the moment, I have not decided finally. So I'm thinking, you know, Rebex is a valuable dude. He does empower my minions, gives, like, you can see how powerful like Fomorians are with charge. Like a hasty 6-power unit is crazy, but it just doesn't matter anymore. So to preserve my life total, I give him the trade. Not the trade, I just give up Rebex. And then Tawny attacks for 1. And is anything else happening? 2 mana for Preston. He's got a couple of cards in hand. What is it? 3. I can't see from this position what they are. Oh, he's got ruler. He's got that ruler. So he attacks for 2 on the buffalo. And you can see the setup with the ruler. He's getting that buffalo and Tawny in a position to attack my back row next turn. He's putting a little bit of chip damage on me now. He's got Bruin, the Squeakers, and the Druid. I mean, if we think about the total damage there, Buffalo and Tawny would equal 5. Squeakers and Bruin would equal 7. That's 12. Druid hits for 2 is 14. And then Ruler for 3. That would door me from 17 if he's able to do the Ruler play next turn. And the boar, but I was never letting the boar untap. I'm attacking with the Fomorian. There's no point in getting closer to him because my Fomorian just dies to the drums. Moving the Root Spider up and disabling the units under him, that would really shut down the ruler play, at least for the time being, and is probably just like better. But I have 10 mana, and you can do a lot with 10 mana. So, and I got quite the clutch of cards. Ooh, Preston has a pretty good hand. He's got the Horn, the Splendor, and the Ruler. So unfortunately, there's nothing to draw off the Splendor with there. But, like, Ruler is a ton of action. Horn goes crazy, like, with the Splendor when you're, like, comboing off, so to speak. It is, I guess it's a kind of clunky hand at the time. But, like, he's got the setup for Ruler, and that's all that matters. So I'm counting my mana because I see a play and I'm like, no way this, like, I can, but like very rarely do you get to 10 mana in sorcery, and so it's crazy what you're capable of. So here's the play, right? We are going to unburrow Root Spider, and he's not going to take any damage because he's been on this site already, and the Squeakers are tapped that are under him. Or over him, I guess. Then I can Shatter Strike. Now, Druid is holding the drums. And what happens is the drums get destroyed before the damage. Now, remember that Bruin takes the damage. But it's not lethal because the drums get destroyed first. So Bruin just has 2 damage on him. And I've spent 4, so I still have 6. And then I double up on the Kobolds. And, like, this was so annoying with the drums. I couldn't do this earlier. But now with 2 Kobolds, one is going to hit Bruin, and the second will hit him, and that's my death blow. Set up by the Atlas Wanderers, and very good game